what would you say is really worth considering when starting a community?
Well, for me, it's all about power. It's all about power, and so wherever we are in our own process with our own community, we see that as like, lots of people like living in a shared house, but there's a landlord, and so clearly the landlord has the power, and that's the problem. But like, you take the landlord away and have everyone co-owning the place, suddenly you've got a whole different type of power, which will come in these other types of ways, whether it's the person who was there first, or the loudest person, or the most charismatic person, or the person who had the more money, or the one who's bringing in the most goods from their job, or from the gardening, or whatever it is. These are other ways that power can manifest. And when power manifests, if it's not dealt with wisely, then that's where the issues arise. And so power needs to be seen, spoken to, never allowed to coalesce, never allowed to ossify, always be in flow, and everyone have an understanding of it and speak to it, and all of this sort of stuff. This is how the egalitarian tribes do it. And so that's, for me, what's really interesting, is to, like, we can all have a community with a guru or a benign dictator, and they hold the power and they do a really good job of making sure everyone's fine. But when that person goes, there's always a power vacuum, and so it doesn't have legs. Whereas an egalitarian tribe, where everyone is fully individual and yet a collective, everyone is absolutely has the same status as everyone else, and we're all working on a daily basis to make sure that that stays like that, as the egalitarian tribes do. That's, for me, really interesting. That's the place that I think is really where the work's needed. But and would be great to have an example to show the world. It's like, here we are doing that. I think that would just be the most amazing journey. But it's but it's a hard one. It's a hard one because we're so used to following and leading and thinking that these things are natural. But actually, when you live with an egalitarian tribe, you realize, no. They're happy to follow a leader. If so, the best hunter, they're happy to follow that guy. But if he ends up showing off that he's the best hunter, or tries to get more food or anything like that, the rest of the guys will just refuse to hunt with him, and the women refuse to cook his food, and they've got all these tools and methods to make sure that no one starts getting any bigger. And if anyone's down, they bring them up. If anyone's up, they bring them down. But they've got all these methodologies for doing that, which are, for me, fascinating. And they're not about conflict. It's always about removing the power rather than challenging the power. So it's all of this stuff that's fascinating, which is what I'm trying to write about.